Are you aware of your emotions? In this video, we're going to cover this wonderful skill called emotional self-awareness and understand exactly what it is. So what is this that we talk about when we say emotional self-awareness? Yeah, it sort of sounds like it has to do with being aware of what I'm feeling, of my emotions. And it is a very important skill because it's the foundation to eventually get to self-management. But we'll talk more about that later. So when we're talking about this ability, this skill to be emotionally self-aware, what we are actually talking about is, first of all, the capacity to notice our emotions as they arise. So for example, if you're sitting down in a meeting, if you're in a family dinner or something, and somebody says something to you or does something to you that, for example, makes you feel sad or makes you feel angry, it's very important that we actually notice when that emotion starts to arise. It's not just reacting in anger, reacting in sadness, and then noticing that we were angry or sad, but actually being able to notice when that emotion starts popping up. And that's why it's a very important skill, and it's one of those skills we can actually develop. Secondly, it's also being able to accurately label what we feel. And remember, emotions are a scale. It's not just anger or sadness or happiness. There is a whole scale from, being slightly sad, being slightly mellow, all the way to being depressed, from being slightly annoyed to being irate, which is complete and utter anger. So again, we have different levels, and it's very important that we're able to accurately label exactly how we're feeling, because that is going to help us understand ourselves and our emotions a lot better. Also, it's very important to understand the trigger, the source or trigger of those emotions. What makes me angry? What makes me sad? Where is this coming from? And again, it's not just understanding where it happens in the world around us. So for example, somebody says something that makes you sad, or somebody said something that makes you happy, is trying to understand why that is. Is it something that is coming specifically from that person? Is it something that always happens? Is it something that actually has some root in our past? So again, it's important to understand the source or trigger of those emotions. Also, we have to start recognizing what impact each of those emotions have on our decisions. So let's say that something happens and you feel sad. What do you do? Does your decision process change? So for example, do you do something like eat ice cream every time you're sad? And is that a good decision? Do you go out shopping because you're feeling sad? Or what happens if you're incredibly happy, if you're very joyful, and suddenly you start spending more money, maybe more than you should? So what are our decisions and how those decisions are impacted while we're in an emotional state? So that is another very important factor of this emotional self-awareness skill. Also, having the language and reflection tools so that we can process our emotions. So remember, we were talking about labeling them. It also means that we have to be able to talk about them. Because if we can talk about our emotions, if we can reflect on our emotions, and we have a good and rich vocabulary to do so, we are able to process them a lot better. Remember, emotions are always going to keep coming. They're always going to be affecting us. But we have two options. Either we let them control our lives or we don't. And the first step that for us to take control of ourselves and of our emotions has to do with being able to be self-aware of them. So what's happening with them so we can actually process them. And finally, it is very, very important that we learn how to stay present with our feelings. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling joyful, if you're feeling sadness, we have to be present without judging. So again, we don't judge our emotions. So if you're feeling angry, it's trying to understand the anger, trying to understand where this anger is coming from and if it's justified. It's not about judging it and saying, well, getting angry is bad, because once you start judging it, it just makes things worse. And the second one is without suppressing. So you don't suppress your emotions, we process them, or at least we want to be able to process them. And if we suppress them, we're not actually controlling the emotions, we're actually just letting them simmer inside. So it's very good to be able to be present with your emotions, to be able to see them and feel them and experience them without judging them or suppressing them. And that's it. This is what we call emotional self-awareness. And it is the first step to understanding our emotions and understanding ourselves and being a better version of ourselves. So if you like this video and you want to learn more about emotional self-awareness, as well as other emotional intelligence skills and social emotional skills, feel free to please give it a like, follow our channel. And yes, definitely, if you know somebody that needs to know and understand a little bit better about themselves, they need to develop their emotional self-awareness, let people know about this video, so share it with those people. They are going to thank you for it.